Welcome back to another episode of In Swine Versation, Sowing Success, Dr. Gordon Spronk's journey with Pipestone and the future of swine health. Welcome, Dr. Spronk.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation, Jim. Really appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Today, we uncover the pillars of Pipestone, reflecting on its evolution, discussing what's changed and what has remained steadfast since its inception. Dr.
Mhm.
Spronk, can you share the early vision and how life differs for new entrepreneurs entering the field?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking, Jim, and thanks for allowing me to spend some time with you and your listeners. What's the same as the love of agriculture, and specifically the love of livestock production. My father was a farmer, my grandfather was a farmer, and we can go back to Europe and find 16 to 20 generations and a farm still in Northern Europe that has our family name written on it. So that's the same. What's different is I think how we produce that food and that protein, and specifically in livestock production. Grandpa never thought about attributes. Well, now we have many attributes that we'll talk about later, attributes of how they're housed, attributes of whether their production practice, attributes of whether we used antibiotics or not. Grandpa never worried about those kind of things. So that's what's changed, Jim.
So there's been lots of change, but the steadfast results is the love for farming, and that's the core root of what we need to
I,
focus on.
I think the love of agriculture, some people would actually use the word agriculturalist, right? And I think that's a proper description for certainly myself, and I think our family and everyone at Pipestone. Gosh, we just love agriculture, and we love the family farm. We love the core values of the family farm. We love the ownership by family farmers, and have a real passion that ownership in our mind, ownership at the farm level is key to long-term generational success.
Why do you find that's the key?
Because the profits stay there, Jim. It's intuitive, but if Wall Street owns it, the profits go to Wall Street. Or if there's foreign ownership, no, I have no. We live in a free country, right? Anybody can own to the point that it's a fair playing field to compete. But at the end of the day, if those profits are owned, and there's economic studies that'll back this up, right? If if an area is only crop production, there's a certain level of economic activity. But that economic activity almost escalates on an exponential point when there's livestock involved, whether it's dairy, whether it's pigs, whether it's chickens. Look at some of the top agricultural producing counties in the United States. I give you Sioux County as a great example, Iowa, Northwest Iowa. They've got great crops here, but they've got livestock. And livestock production owned by the local farmers is key to local economic success and vitality and long-term generational transfer of wealth.
So let's move on to your impactful tenure at the National Pork Board. So you were part of sustainability and growth accomplishments. What lies ahead, Gordon?
Well, first of all, I'll let others decide whether my tenure's impactful or not. And certainly, sometimes outside forces shape the industry. In I think what you're referring to is sustainability, and Grandpa just used the word stewardship. I think has always been better word for me to understand sustainability. But he never had to understand or compete with. Gosh, was he competing with Brazil? Or was he competing with Spain? Or was he competing with China? Well, now today, in fact, we are. And so that's really my concern, and where I have been active in that space with Pork Board in understanding the sustainability and the stewardship as we attempt to make benchmarks. And on our farm, then we know where our manure is applied. We track that agronomically. We report that to a central system, which I'd encourage everyone in the industry to those basic reports of how that all that rolls up into, hey, can we produce a pig that is neutral to greenhouse gases? Because that's the concern of the consumer today. So I think that's important today, and it's going to be more important in the future.
And speaking of the National Pork Board, you just got back from Pork Forum, Gordon.
Yeah.
What was your take home message from that?
Well, first of all, I'd encourage any producer to attend if they could, because the leadership and the future direction of the industry is it for sure discussed at that forum. And then they sometimes the delegates make a major decision, and this time they did. The delegates at this year's forum approved a traceability resolution, and that really sets the industry on a path of not only the ship effort of voluntary traceability, but also an effort to work with our USDA APHIS officials to bring to code that the pork industry, all producers will participate in a program that will validate for our international trading partners that we know where disease is not present in the event of and we do this because in the event of a report of a foreign animal disease on North American soil, well, that's going to impact our ability to trade. And we want to use traceability as a tool to validate and build trust with our foreign trading partners that they can trust when they import our product. It's because exports now, we know this, exports are robust. A third now of our product leaves our shores in the United States, and higher than that in Canada, in your country.
So in the latest world mega producer ranking, Pipestone holds the second position with an impressive 461,000 sows. So Dr. Spronk, what do you think these numbers signify to you, and how does Pipestone continue to excel on the global scale?
I think what it really, thanks for the question. I think what it really says, what goes unspoken in that number is that the independent producer is alive and well. Those 400,000 plus sows are owned by independent farmers like our own family. And so that the ability to survive and the ability to thrive and compete and then have generational transfer. And the other thing that I think is very satisfactory in of those 400,000 sows, many, if not nearly all, have the next generation coming back to the farm. Well, that's a key point of pride. If I could, or we could be allowed some pride at Pipestone, that the next generation of farmers is coming back and wants to be part of agriculture. That is very satisfying.
Is that one of your missions, Gordon?
We get up every day and it says helping farmers. And so helping farmers to be generational in their transfer, yes, that is our mission.
Now, shifting gears to hot topic, Prop 12.
Sure.
So, Dr. Spronk, we've heard about the challenges and implementation issues. What observations do you have from your perspective, and how is Pipestone navigating through this landscape?
Well, Pipestone is we have farms that are Prop 12 compliant. We've met that consumer demand. So the observation is it's just one more attribute, as we previously talked about, Jim. The consumer wants attributes. Now, we can debate whether or not that's really appropriate for the sow. And my personal opinion is that this is a contributing open pen gestation. My grandfather had them out on an alfalfa field. My father moved them inside into a stall. And now my brother and I and our next generation, our sons and daughters are now putting them back into open pen gestation, putting them back into Prop 12 housing. And does it cause us a concern? Sure. I think part of the until we learn the appropriate management strategies, part of our current concern about sow mortality is a contribution. The housing change is a contribution to the sow mortality. Now, will it be permanently? Probably not. We'll learn. We'll be better. And so Prop 12 is just one more attribute that the consumer is discussing. Whether we use antibiotics is an attribute. How we the PQA plus, how we handle the animal is an attribute. So it's just one more attribute. Grandpa certainly didn't have to worry about it, but we do today, Jim.
I know there's lots of challenges in the pork industry. And so do you think that we should tackle things as challenges or see it as opportunity?
Well, both. Every challenge is an opportunity. And of course, the current challenge we have right now for the past, Jim, 18 months has just strictly been survival. That's mostly been due to our rising cost of production. Now we've We have some relief from that as we speak. Cost of production has come down. We hope it's going to come down even more. But as all of us know, some of these pre-COVID prices and impacts are still lingering with us. And so we may never return to the 60s or the $100 cost of production. Gosh, it peaked during COVID here, and in the last 18 months, well over $200 cost of production. So that's the current challenge right now. Simply survive.
So what about on the home front? Are there any updates on the Holstone plant in South Dakota?
Well, Holstone, of course, and your listeners know Holstone with their merger with Prestige probably took the front burner to the issue in South Dakota. So that's still there, and Holstone's alive and well. And that model again of producer ownership, just like we talked about previously, we're very pleased with that pathway of moving up the chain, if you will. That not only do I have to own my sow farm, I own my wean to finish barn. Our farmers already own the land, so they can accept the manure. Well, now, in order to maintain that profit, the old method was, well, Jim, this will just raise more pigs. Well, now, maybe we should raise the same number of pigs, but just try to find ways to make more profit from each pig. And so Holstone is a key component and a key pillar in that effort.
So if we take a trip down memory lane, Dr. Spronk, Pipestone Management was founded in 1988. And in 1990, Hiawatha Gilts emerged as the first Pipestone managed sow farm. This farm, now a 2,500 sow farrow to wean operation, exemplifies Pipestone's forward-thinking leadership. Can you share your insights into this transformative journey?
Yeah. So first of all, Hiawatha still does exist. It's our first farm built in the late 80s. At that time, a farrow to finish. Today, it's farrow to wean, as you say. So that's a change, right? So that's an insight that production models will always change, and you change to do what's best for the pig. But I think one thing that stays constant, if you could really share an insight of a passion to be involved in agriculture, a passion to help farmers, and if you do that in a way that, Grandpa said, right, there's two things if you want to provide leadership to farmers: say thank you and define reality. And so you can't thank the farmers enough that allow us to come to their farms and allow us to participate in their operations. But at the same time, you have to speak truth to them. That's reality. And sometimes they have to change their methods. And as long as you continue to do those two things, Jim, I think you'll go a long way for the next generation.
So let's wrap up on swine health.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Spronk, what is your definition of swine health and how does it play a pivotal role in success of Pipestone management? And I guess we can extend that to the industry in general.
Sure. Sure. Well, at the Pipestone level, at the sow farm level, we define success of swine health as if we can deliver a large group of pigs without pathogens in its purest form. So no PERS, whatever method of detection, no PERS, no PED, no APP, no, you just go down the list. That group of pigs will make that farmer and that owner more money. That's why we do it. It's better for the pig. It's also better for the owner of the pig. Now the industry faces some challenges. We have an industry that has been successful generationally. Grandpa got rid of foot and mouth disease and hog cholera. My father was successful in getting rid of pseudorabies. I actually, in my career, was at the tail end of that, of the elimination on the national basis of pseudorabies from our American sow herd. Well, now we face the issue of the recent introduction of PED. It's been 10 years now. PED entered our U.S. industry, and we also have this virus called PERS. Well, some of our production practices and our industry behaviors uh, uh, might be conducive to keeping those pathogens circulating. And so we need, as an industry, to understand that, that's a tragedy of the commons, if you will. And there are competitors out there, I give you Brazil, that don't have PED and don't have pseudorabies, or sorry, PERS. Well, they're becoming more competitive than us. And that's the reason, not only is it good for the pig, it's good for the ownership and the industry. We'd be much better off if we eliminated those two pathogens.
Well, great conversation, Gordon. Dr. Gordon Spronk, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jim, and all the best to you and your listeners.